Hi Ram, good evening. How are you?
Hello, Sriji. Very good evening to you too. I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic, Ram, fantastic. So last week we spent very good time and you explained in great detail about compassionate journaling. In fact, it was well received by people who watch us regularly. And something very interesting came out from what I heard from people. So let me put it in a light way, light fashion. Already someone is under stress, right? And we discussed the context when they don't have anyone else to discuss upon, and then you suggested that no need for someone else, you can write it.
Mm,
And we defined, or we rather discussed about what is this concept of compassionate journaling last week.
mm,
Now the question was this: I am already mentally held up.
mm,
How do I write? What if I couldn't find a way to write, or
mhm,
I couldn't find a thought line to write about?
mm.
And then that in itself adds to my
Stress.
existing tensions was what one of the reflections that I could get. But of
Mm,
course, I do remember asking you that if there was any correct way or particular way of journaling, which you said it has to be free as possible to avoid the same stress. But what I request on that behalf is this week, next few minutes, why don't we spend on you explaining certain specific cases, or why don't we take up certain cases which may be stressful and say we end up writing a journal to release that stress? Why don't we do like that?
we could do that, but I think it's a very interesting question, Sriji. In the sense, I'm so overwhelmed already. I'm so stressed out. Right? I do not know
Yes,
where to start writing, how to start writing, what to start writing about.
yes,
So before
yeah.
I go on and start giving some ideas, certain aspects that we need to be cognizant of when we write, etc. I would
Hmm.
like to ask you one thing. So, typically, when we say
Hmm.
I am unable to start writing, or I have some kind of a block, or I have trouble, is there a kind of a notion or a belief that we have, somebody who wishes to write a journal, that there must be a structure or there must be a certain fashion in which we want to write? Is that a predisposition that people have or a question that people have?
Ram, I can answer it from my experience.
Mm,
Writing as such is taught in schools and it is always already taught with a structure. You
mm,
know, even from your childhood, people are at least trained to talk.
very
Or
true.
even without training, they can still talk because it's a natural thing to do. Writing, I don't think was natural for everyone, Ram. So
Mm,
that being said, someone will eventually try to recall how they were taught to write. And in majority of your schooling, it is only formal writing, and
absolutely.
that is one thing. And outside the purview of this context, I work with science. I'm a I do research in for my profession. So to be very honest with you, writing is one of the most challenging aspects of that, because you have so much of ideas, so much gush into your mind at one point of time.
Mm,
But what comes first? You will be having a structure, but to bring it down is as time consuming as the work itself. To
very
write it
true.
down is as consuming as the work itself. So
Mm,
with if someone like me was the person who asked this question, then yes, I really appreciate the depth of why they had asked it. What do you start writing? And especially when you're
mm.
clouded with emotions, you don't know what to release first. I
Okay.
hope I answered your question,
No, no,
Ram.
that's a very good point because it kind of takes us back to our own conditioning over the ages in terms of being taught either through the educational system or through very formal social communication systems that there is only a certain acceptable way in which we should communicate in order for it to be effective. So every time when we talk about communications, people say effective communications. How do you write a letter?
True.
That it has to follow a certain format and standard. How do you write a report? It has to follow a certain standard, right? How do you write an email at work, which is again a manifestation of the letter? It has to follow a certain standard, right? So anything that
Yeah.
we produce, or because we spoke about schools, how do we write our classworks or records? Everything follows a standard. I think I can go on and on, but that will kind of digress from what we want to say. Now, the idea behind what we are trying to do right now is not to make writing a chore or a what do you call a formal activity that we need to structure and plan and execute in the way that we deal with everything else. Right here, the target audience. is none other than ourselves. In fact, on many occasions, there is no target audience. We are not trying to adhere to any format or standards that will gain or gain the acceptance or validation from somebody else. The target or objective of writing a journal, especially when we keep saying compassionate journal, is two things. One, it is a way by which we unload what is bothering us, right? So there is no real target audience. It is all right. It serves its purpose. It allows us to get a sense of release, like you spoke about, and a sense of relief by being able to put down in any form, shape, format, or words that come out just like a stream of consciousness. And then it just has to fill itself on a piece of paper. The reason why we say it is a good idea to write is because it allows us to focus on us. We focus, we have a paper, we try to write something down, and then we are watching what we are doing. And over time, when we make this a habit, it's available for us to reflect upon as well. But then, uh, if we don't do that, we are just going to keep thinking, and given how our human mind works, we'll keep hopping from one point to another. We might lose the anchor, or we might lose the pivoting point, and then we could keep jumping along, and then we could only further our anxiety. So that is about it. So this is what it is all about. We have to unlearn pretty much anything, or at least for the period when we are trying to journal or write down what we want to write down. We shouldn't never really allow any kind of structures or rules or formats or intents or goals or anything come in our way. The objective is to just express, like, if I'm talking to you, if I'm talking to a good friend, I don't think, right?
Yeah.
Am I talking to CG like I'm talking to my boss or like my teacher or my parent? No, I don't, right? I just pour my heart out. Now, instead of a friend, a paper or a journal takes a place, and then we just pour our heart out in whatever form or shape we think is appropriate. I think that is the most important part of this entire exercise. And once this is internal, people embody the spirit of why we want to do this through practice and through conscious, uh, what do you call, mindset formation before we start writing or during the process of writing. I think it becomes easy. We are not here to please anybody. We are not here to write for a Pulitzer Award. It's not going to be published as a book or anything. It is just about us sharing or pouring our hearts out to a friend, which is now a journal which is in front of us. That's about it, Srijay.
Ram, in that case, if it is allowed and if it won't appear weird, can I give you a typical situation and find out how you will go about writing further? This is, of course, from one of my experiences. Okay, so
Sure.
I will put you in a situation, and this may appear silly, but usually very silly things are certain things that you won't feel comfortable discussing with others because you are worried that we may think you silly. In those cases, it is better you do journaling so that you still have a relief, and but at the same time there is nothing that you are going to lose by doing it. So I will give you one such situation. Okay, so you are a scientist. Okay, and you've been trying to do some experiments and simulation to capture some data. Okay, 20-30 trials for 2-3 weeks. Nothing works. Failure after failure after failure. And you are, of course, trained to fail. Uh, I don't know if I'm putting it the right way. Never mind. We are still friends. Guys, watching this, this is how. Okay. Never mind. Whatever people just throw it out, man. Release it. Okay. So 20-30 experiments fail. You are very sincere in what you want to do. Nothing seems to work. And then your parents as well as no one else is in the home. So you have to look after the house chores as well as your lab. And then you wake up late. You realize that you wake up late in the morning. And then somehow you cook for yourself, pack your food. You leave in Chennai traffic. To cover 20 kilometers, it is going to take you 58 minutes easily. And then you get stuck in a signal. And when the signal is released, you start your bike only to find that auto rickshaw never bothered to see that you are his co-passenger in the road. He just rides on your foot. You are about to chase him. He rides on your foot once again. You don't even have the time to sit and argue with him because you have to go to the office by time, punch in and start your work. You do the work, and still that day also doesn't happen to be a very good day. Of course, it's quite common in science, but the thing is, how do we train yourself for that? And then you come back home late in the night. fully withdrawn, tired, not withdrawn, let me say, fully tired, exhausted. But again, you have to cook for yourself or at
Mhm.
least arrange for a dinner. This is quite exhaustive, right? This will typically cause someone to overwhelm. And now I don't have anyone else to share because others may think, what's the big deal in it? People have got greater things to do it. So obviously, I won't risk. In fact, since it was just a case study and I just wanted to give a quick example that quickly occurred to me in my mind, honestly, I
Mhm.
also did it on the show. Otherwise, we won't find it, very nice to discuss it with people and all at this time. But I still want to release it because it's a frustration that I have in my mind. If I don't
Mm.
release it, next day morning I'll be waking up with this, and it is just going to. We call it in computational mechanics as uh, error propagation. At every single increment, if there is a small residue of error, that is only going to add up. It's only going to snowball. You better cut the error and truncate it at
Mm.
every single step. So your emotions are like that. Now,
Correct.
if Ram was in the situation that I told,
Mm.
how is Ram going to make a compassionate journal? Just go by flow, Ram.
Okay.
You dictate the journal like you write to us.
So it would be quite simple, right? I would just sit down, I've had my dinner, I'm in front of my table journal, and I'm very tired. I actually want to go to sleep, but I'm so overwhelmed.
Mm.
I'm, high on adrenaline because of
Ram,
the,
sometimes you
yeah,
will be so tired that you won't get sleep also.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So because either my adrenaline is pumped or I'm so exhausted, I don't somehow feel like sleeping. That's because of the
Uh,
emotional load that is in me, and I just feel so overwhelmed. I feel like getting it out. So I might just
mm,
pick up the diary and start saying something like, uh, that day I might choose to write to myself because I may perhaps because of the constant what do you call a lack of results on my part, and then just on the day when I thought my results would come, it didn't work out. On top of it, the auto guy made it worse. I started shouting, but he went away while I was tending to my foot, and I did not even have this guy to shout at. Even when I thought of chasing my alarm went off. I had to go to work, so I never
yes,
really got to get my anger out. So I'm just a cauldron of emotions just boiling, and then I go to work. It's one more very what do you call just another day where one more simulation failed. But today it's a horrible day because it's many days
yes,
of frustration plus all the events of the morning and my having to deal with my personal stuff also. I'm just overwhelmed, right? And I'm tired. I don't
yeah,
want to write, but I'm writing. Okay.
yes,
So the first thing I need is some degree of kindness to myself. And this is one of the important parts of a journal, right? So I might probably not worry about anything. This is the first thing that will come to my mind. I'll probably start writing Dear Ramanujam or Hey Ramanujam or Hey Ram, whatever comes to my mind. Right. I know you are tired and I know you are completely exhausted, right? And the only reason why you are sitting and writing today is because you are not in a position to sleep without it. You are emotionally overwhelmed. I understand. Okay. And today was not a great day for you. You tried this over the past 15 days. Your simulations haven't gone quite right. You're not able to figure out, right? You have been obsessing over it over the past few days, right? You're constantly thinking about this while driving, while working at home, taking care of your chores, and because of this overriding thought that is sitting in your mind, it is constantly what nagging you, because of which everything else seems to be too much larger than what you think it is. And finally, as if all that was not enough, we had our dear traffic and one of our fellow auto wallahs giving you a physical pain also today, and you could not even shout at that guy because he ran away and you were tending to your foot. But I want you to understand that many such days have come and they have gone away. I'm not telling you this just to comfort you or soothe you. I cannot lie to you because it is me who's writing to you, right? You and I are not different, okay? But I want you to understand that it is very, very human for you to feel the way you are feeling today. I know you don't feel like writing, but still, the fact that you have taken the effort to write shows that you are keen on getting your feelings out. And I am just here to listen to you. And I'm just here to acknowledge the fact that you are going through maybe a difficult period, which is a very, very human thing. But I want you to know that if you are today a scientist, if you are somebody who has driven that way, right? And if your pain has subsided all along today, or if you were in pain and you were angry, all of that is only because you are a human being, a normal human being, and everything is working fine with you. But sometimes understand that it is not possible for us to respond all the way we want, right? I'm really proud of who you are. I'm quite confident that it will come. Perhaps all you need is some break, some rest to make your life a little more manageable. Who knows, maybe take a day or two off, and that might clear your brain and something might come out. And I don't want you to feel bad about any of these things. Right? There are so many things. Even if you made a genuine mistake, it is all right. It is a very, very human thing to do. Others might be critical. Somebody might be, you might feel that, your superiors might question you. You might feel a little bit of pressure. But notwithstanding all that, you are still a human being who's prone to errors, regardless of how much of an expert you are. But you are still good. You have done quite a lot, and I'm sure you'll overcome it. Now, I want you to take a few deep breaths, stop obsessing over this. I know it is difficult, you don't want to obsess over this, but just take a few deep breaths, because tomorrow, if you want the day to be a good day, it is important that you go to sleep. And I am proud of you no matter who it is. I know you are a good person. I know you are capable, right? And I know when things go out of control, it is difficult to be on top of your emotions, but remember, it is a human thing. I know I'm repeating myself, Sriji, but I probably this is how I'd go, which is the whole idea behind this, right? I'm just taking a simulated scenario. This is a simulation for me, right? And
I'm
yeah,
Yeah, this is a proper simulation, of course. What I told was complete simulation. I just gave him a situation that
yeah,
was horrible and I wanted him to.
yeah. So I'll just go on.
Uh,
It doesn't matter if I write 10 times. It doesn't matter if I say the same thing
sure,
again and again.
sure.
Yeah, and then fundamentally that comes out, right? And then whenever there is a moment to relax, that's good. Then you can go back and it's out, and you can go and take rest.
Two names come to my mind when I try to recall who all gave us the feedback. In fact, I'm very thankful to them. One Mr. Narasimhan and one Mr. Ranganathan. The reason, to be honest, Ram, I I feel that I really learned how to compassionate journal after listening to you, because I took it for granted since you asked to write the way I am comfortable with. So of course you still gave the freedom and liberty, that's the thing. But if I was supposed to write, or if you had asked me this question, I would have done it like diary writing.
Hmm.
I would have simply wrote, today morning, woke up late, felt very tired. In fact, I would have only written my frustrations there. I wouldn't have told so many nice things to myself, like what you did now. So very good. What I took for granted itself is now answered. Probably
Yeah, that.
the question I should have asked you last week, but I'm thankful to the people who have made me ask you this. So happy that we
Right.
had this discussion now.
So I'm very grateful to them also
Otherwise, I would
because
have done yeah, I would have written a diary rating. I would have told today was very bad. Today, auto wala ran over my foot. That too twice. Traffic police was helpless. Simulation did not converge. The
mm,
rice got overcooked. Dal was horrible. I missed to add salt. Only, all slipped would have been written. But good, you
even
have
until
put
that
in
point is
everything.
fine. Even until that point is fine. The point where
Uh,
we start losing the whole thing in our minds typically, which we will never do when we are
uh,
talking about even your way of journaling or what I wrote, is we'll
uh,
start blaming ourselves. Maybe I am not good enough.
uh,
Maybe I cannot focus. That
yeah.
you really cannot stop associating something going wrong with probably some person. Dr. Gabor Mate, who's one of the foremost experts in dealing with trauma, stress, and anxiety, he has a very beautiful line in one of his books. I think it is the book called Scattered Minds, and he says this, right. The human tendency is to think that every time something goes wrong, somebody has to be at fault. But when something goes wrong, it doesn't mean somebody has to be at fault. Things can go wrong on their own, right? It
This
fundamentally
is
means,
very deep.
yeah, yeah. So I think we need to
Very
all
deep.
keep the spirit. But when we start writing all of these, right, this is one very beautiful example, how you said and how I said, we never really blamed ourselves. We were quite objective. We wrote down things as they were, or we said, this is what I would write down as they are, right? So this is what I was mentioning about. We are taking the judgmental part of it out. We are not being
Mm,
self-critical. We are not being judgmental. Right. So there are three, if I may again reiterate, there are three things that are extremely critical to how we write a journal. It could be something like I
mm,
shouted at somebody in my office today or lab today for not doing their work
mm,
because I myself was late and my deliverable got delayed.
mm,
Right. But if I
mm,
then write I am a horrible person, there is no point. We shouldn't be doing that. We just strike that out and say, no, that I'm not a horrible person. And then I can say, yeah, I should not have shouted at that person probably, but I myself came late. His delay was affecting me. In the morning, my rice was overcooked. Right, so I can at least trace the antecedents of what caused a certain behavior, and then I can write about the consequence. Kind of led to the other person feeling sad, right? And then so this is the first part, right? Writing it in a non-judgmental fashion, right? So there is one very important thing that we talk about when we deal with people in therapy, and we say that typically uh, when you want to talk to somebody about something, as much as possible, describe it, especially to a therapist. Don't explain it.
Oh, there's a difference between
Yeah,
describing and explaining it.
yeah. Why don't you describe me now? When you say, can you describe me?
Yeah, you look very bright and you sport a very beautiful tilak, clean shaven, wearing a grey t-shirt, and having a fantastic background of manogya, signifying brain and heart and compassion, everything that's green and bright. Yeah. And now I understand, viewers will understand how pathetic I am in describing. Yeah, that's fine.
No, you
Yeah.
actually that
Uh,
is the right way to describe, because normally when you tell somebody, if you had asked me, no, not when we
uh,
go right and we tell people, why don't you describe me? They'll say, you look like a very smart person. You seem to be intelligent, right? Uh, Huh, okay, description is just telling things as they are, right? It is not about taking
uh,
that. Okay, so you see this person, he has, okay, Sriji has a broad forehead, so he must be a really intelligent guy. Yes, that is definitely an association we can make, and it's a fact. But when we say describe, we only say you're wearing an orange shirt, just like how you described me. That is description.
right,
That is all we must
right.
do when we do a journal. Just describe what happened. Just pour it out
Okay.
as it is.
So in other words, sorry to interrupt you. So in other words, you mean to say you don't give your interpretations for what you feel a particular way or why you feel a particular
That
way.
is a
Just say what
slippery
you
slope.
feel. That
That is
stop.
a slippery, yeah.
Don't say that. Yeah, I probably am thinking like this because of this reason. Don't give.
The,
So you are bringing this rule for writing also. You are just telling just write and be kind. Don't try to explain why you felt particular way or why you are bad or what is that what you're trying to say, Ram?
Yeah, exactly. Why do see if I'm that is if we start doing that, that is the first evidence. Again, I don't want to stop anybody from doing that. But
Hmm.
if somebody does that, right, and they start
Hmm.
saying, "Oh, I was rude. I am a rude person," or these are when people say, "I am this," it is a core belief, right? I am useless. I am
That
good. I am bad. I am arrogant. I'm this, right? That shows a very, I mean, deep underlying automatic belief that I have about myself. There is absolutely no need to be, and that is evidence of self-criticality, which is completely unnecessary when we are trying. Already there is so many, we are overwhelmed, that we feel that things are hard on us. Why should we be hard on
true,
ourselves,
true,
right?
very
So
true, very true.
yeah, so there is absolutely no need for us to go there. And
In
if we
fact,
are doing, yeah.
if I can, sorry to, I'm just recalling one beautiful scene that I saw in one of the Mahabharats that was taken by Star Television. It was in 2013, 2014 time it got released and it was telecasted online by
Mhm.
Star TV channel. There is this beautiful scene when Bhishma lays on the arrow bed and then he is repenting something and suddenly his mother comes. So I will cite the dialogue as I remember in Tamil and then I'll explain it for the non-Tamil speaking viewers. So Bhishma is remorseful about something. Then Mother Ganga comes. Mother Ganga is Bhishma's own mother. So she comes and he says, he expresses his, uh, what to say, remorses to her, what he's upset about to her. And then she says, don't be harsh on yourself. தன்னை மன்னிக்க முடியாத ஒருவரால் பிறரை மன்னிக்க முடியாது மகனே. This is one of my most favorite dialogues. You see, I remember it after 10 years, like I saw it
Mhm.
yesterday. It simply says that, son, you need to understand one thing. Someone who cannot forget, or someone who cannot forgive one's own self will never be able to forgive others. So, the corollary of the statement is when we are able to be soft to others, when we are able to be kind to others, the underlying fact is we can do it to ourselves in a much better fashion. So,
Absolutely.
someone who cannot forgive one's own self or someone who cannot be forbearing with one's own self can never do it to others. So, like Ram had been insisting all through these last 15, 20 minutes, let's be kind to ourselves. And I feel my way of journaling or Ram's way of journaling was much better than what I thought I will be doing it. So let us take cue from it and let us try to develop a. as we run through, and as and when needed. Of course, it's not a necessary thing that you do it every day, but we both happen to just share a tool for you
Hmm.
that sometimes when things go out of hand, you can use this for. What say,
Absolutely.
Ram?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is very, very important, right? People should not feel pressurized to do this. It must be
Yep,
something that they can adopt. So, it's always a good habit to be able to do this in a particular rhythm or in a particular cadence where we know this is what we are doing. And like I said the other day, the advantage of making this a habit, nobody needs to write 1,000 pages every day, right? Or it's not a university exam where you need to write for 100
true,
marks. Even if it is just couple of lines, like I said, today was a good day. I think I took good rest yesterday. Ramanujam, like you
true.
suggested, things went quite well today. So I'm grateful for that. So it's a really nice thing that to make it a habit. And you made a good point, right? If I cannot forgive myself, I cannot forgive other people, or if I cannot be kind to myself, I cannot be kind to anybody else. Forgiving does not
Thanks to
necessarily,
the dialogue
yeah.
writer. I don't know who wrote it. I don't remember their names also, but I credit them. Excellent work by Star TV, and very good,
Yeah.
very good job by the person who wrote it.
Yeah. So I think you know if we talk about forgiving, it does not necessarily mean that we somebody has wronged us or something has been unfair to us. It doesn't mean
Correct,
that we are probably saying that it is right. We are not saying that
correct,
what they did was appropriate, or suddenly something that really annoyed us doesn't become correct all of a sudden. It just means
true.
that I have accepted that it has happened, and I am moving on for
Right.
my own good. I have accepted that you cannot go back and hope for a better past. There is no such thing. You can only look for a good present and a better future. So, and I know that this is baggage. So I have decided to leave it out, and I'm moving on with my life, which is what forgiving is all about. So, like I said, it doesn't mean just because something has gone wrong doesn't mean somebody is at fault. Even if somebody is at fault, for my own peace of mind, I'm willing to take a call, and it calls for a lot of maturity. And only a person who's very sure of who they are or what happens to them will first of all understand that there is only so much I can do. This is who I am, not in an arrogant manner, but in a more self-aware manner. And then if there are things that go,
That looks more humble. It doesn't
yeah,
even look like arrogance. It's actually
correct,
humility. To
humility.
know our limitations is real humility.
Yeah, and
Um,
when we are able to do that, then we are very well grounded in ourselves, and that is typically people say, no, love yourself, self-love. It doesn't mean you go hug yourself. This is what it means. I have a great degree of awareness. I am never going to be cruel to myself or unkind to myself to the point where I get frustrated or I get upset or anything. All of this comes only
true.
from the fact that we call this performative contradictions, right? I want to do something, but I'm doing something else. We will never get into that kind of situation.
Correct.
We'll say, yeah, you know what, bear with me. We won't say, I am sorry, I don't. We'll say, bear with me, not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Because we know that, we don't have to be sorry for it. Right? If it comes
True.
across as arrogant, so be it. But so this is the essence of forgiving or self kindness. The second thing is one
Correct.
important thing, it always helps us to acknowledge explicitly our own humanness till it becomes a habit. It is all right. You are
Fair.
human. You will shout at somebody, right? And it is not going to stop today. But and then what happens is in a calmer moment, in a more peaceful moment, if we take the journal and we reflect upon it, we will start seeing certain patterns. Oh, I'm obsessing here, obsessing there. And typically my anger is tied to my obsession, or my distractedness is
Brilliant.
tied to my obsession. Then we can say, okay, how do I work around or work on all of these so
Brilliant.
I get rid of some of these habits? And then we become more mindful. So the ultimate goal is to become more mindful, more self-aware, and automatically the ability to be more forgiving, more what do you call, or kinder to people, and then more all embracing becomes an automatic habit. And then we are not going to have all these critical self beliefs or negative self beliefs. Then we are
Fair.
going to be in a good place, Sriji. So I think that's really all
Fair.
that is there to it from a this is where compassionate journal will take us. Like I said the other day, this is why I said it's an enabler of certain desirable behaviors. It's not a behavior by itself, it's a good enabler.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Ram. That was very good discussion, I believe, and really thank you for the other people who reflected that discussing on how to do the compassionate journaling is important. It was really eye-opening even for me in my.
You're, yeah, I can hear you
So
now,
thanks,
please.
Ram. So we will meet on the another in the next episode.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Riji. I think I'm really grateful again. My gratitude to you, to Ranganathan, and PB Lakshmi Narasimhan, who were kind enough to share their honest feedback, because quite often in the no, spur of the moment in my enthusiasm, I might probably talk about, hey, you can do this, but the how is also quite important. Although we say there are no rules,
Yeah,
it's always good to facilitate or lead people into how to adopt a technique with some ideas. So I'm really grateful to all of you for the feedback, and I hope this was useful, folks. Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you, Sriji.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye
Good
bye.
night.